Excuse the disheveled hair, but today I wanted to make sure I got out another video because praise is due for one of our lovely little bright spots for the Utah Jazz, who in the beginning was having a rough start to his NBA career, the 9th overall pick, in fact, being Taylor Hendricks, as he was relegated to the G League to play games there. He's now been in 9 games and played and started in all 9 of those. Now, the reason why I wanted to make this video was to just do a quick little spot check and give praise because on this past Wednesday, he had his best game to date. Now, we know that the Utah Jazz's main roster has been having their trial and error issues with many of their different players, but we believe that between Taylor Hendricks and Bryce Sensabaugh, alongside Walker Kessler currently on the official roster, and the rookie Keontae George, they have a strong core of players that could potentially make moves later on down the line. That being said, we understand that Taylor Hendricks is supposed to be getting turned into more of a 3-and-D type of player, whereas while he is a 6'9", 215-pound big that has the ability and has shown the ability to shoot the 3-ball really well, he really had most of his offensive game come from back to basket. Now, defensively, that was fine because he's a very good help side defender, which I believe will translate very well once he gets pulled up to the main roster. The issue comes from the fact that offensively there was an adjustment period for him. Now, since the last video that I made about him, his percentages have gone up. Now, he is at 44% overall from the field. His shooting percentages are up in both categories, shooting 44% from the field now and 38% from 3 on 5.5 attempts a game. Now, with that in mind, after his most recent explosive game, his numbers have increased to an overall 14.5 points a night, 6.5 rebounds, and about an assist and a half a night, to go along with 1.8 blocks and 1.9 turnovers. Now, we would like for those turnover numbers to go down considering he's only playing 30 minutes a night, but at the same time, he's been pretty well on the defensive side of the ball, so we have to appreciate what he's bringing on the other end of the floor to make up for that. But to really go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of it, the simple fact of the matter is he had a career-high 26 points the other night. Now, this included a 10 of 14 performance from the field and him hitting 4 of those being 3-pointers. Now, he did have 26 and 9 at the end of the night, 10 of 14 from the field, hitting 4 3-pointers. Those are all really good numbers and all, but the question is, how does this play out in the long term of things? This was the flash that we were really looking for from him. Overall, he's had okay games, but there's never been one where he's been like above the rest, head and neck above the rest. And he's already a very daunting player on the court when you see him in real life, but simply the numbers didn't jump off the page. When you have a rookie that was picked top 10, when you send him to the G League, you think he's going to get better. But the simple fact of the matter is the objective is to see him stand out from day one, and he hasn't been able to do that. This performance, though, is the one that everybody's really been looking for to show that he could potentially be a very big cog in the machine at a later date. We already know he defensively is present. He's always going to be around the rim. He's not going to be super high in the foul category, but he is also going to be reliable enough to be a help side defender that can give you some blocks alongside a potential lineup with Walker Kessler. With that in mind, he also satisfies the 3-point shooting that somebody like a John Collins does. And considering that he's probably going to end up being better on the defensive side of the ball, you could argue that he has a higher ceiling in the long term than John Collins does for the team. That being said, John Collins is still integral to the current success of the roster, especially when it comes to more of a leadership standpoint and just being consistent in what he does, because he is a consistent bucket. And there haven't been many of them aside from obviously the star of the team, Lauri Markkanen. In a perfect world, Taylor Hendricks continues to up his percentages, more so his overall field goal percentage, because we would like to see him shoot better from inside of the arc. But keeping his percentages at that 38% on 5.5 attempts is beautiful, because that means you can slide him to the power forward spot and he's going to be hitting them at a high clip. And on the defensive side of the ball, you can make certain zone switches and you can just have guys play straight up man to man, and he can have the perfect instincts to stay locked in and also not be worried about getting sent to the bench because of a silly call that he continually gets due to being caught out of position. In the grand scheme of things, people believe that Olynyk is going to get moved. Right now, it doesn't seem the most logical to do it just because the Jazz are playing good some nights and rough other nights. Olynyk is a big part of the good side of things because he's been shooting well from the field. He's been effective in the minutes that he's played. He doesn't complain. He's a stand-up guy. And he makes up for the playmaking deficit that we have when we have Lauri Markkanen, John Collins, and Walker Kessler on the floor, because that's just not a very big part of any of those 3 guys' game, and they start the game. So when Olynyk comes in off the bench, he fulfills that need. Likely, I would see that Hendricks gets added to the roster around the same time that Sensabaugh does, because Sensabaugh is also working on his personal playmaking. So having them on the court together would also have a little bit of continuity, even though they would be new to the higher level of basketball. And overall, it wouldn't be as much of a deficit in situations if Kelly Olynyk was to get traded. Now, at the moment, I do have a sense of partial bias towards Kelly Olynyk because I like his play style. Honestly, this season has been one of his better ones, even though his numbers might not jump off the page. He's been a very good glue guy in certain lineups, and he's honestly been not as terrible defensively as I've remembered him to be in the past. Understanding this, though, the NBA is a business, and it is looking like his expiring contract will get moved around the trade deadline. If it doesn't, it wouldn't also surprise me. I believe that we'll probably go more guard heavy in a trade package, but that still remains to be seen. With that being said, you guys let me know what you think in the comments below. Let me know if you think that this game is an indicator to show that he's really going to be planning on taking that next step for the rest of the G League season, and eventually when he comes up into the NBA, he's going to continue that burst, or if this is just the peak of the mountain and he's bound to come back down to earth. With that being said, as always, thanks for tuning into the video. Make sure to like the video, subscribe, turn on your post notifications, and if you're already subscribed, become a member to get the videos earlier than everybody else. As always, it's been your boy Wraith Hoops. Good morning, good evening, good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.